Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I am Molly Amkraut-Mueller, and I am a AI enthusiast, an AI optimist, and AI builder. And my favorite thing to do these days is teach other people tips and tricks for getting the most out of AI tools and hopefully getting you all as excited as I am about this future of AI. And today we are tackling how to vibe code a personal website with me. So the plan is I'll start with a little bit of an overview of vibe coding and why I love it so much. And then we're going to get into building your site. And the first part of that is going to be figuring out what your goal is and getting content to put on your site. And I'm going to teach you my lazy hacks for doing that. And then we'll spend most of today actually building your site in Lovable. Feel free to ask me questions as we go. I want this to go at your pace. So if you get lost, just stop me and we'll get you unstuck. And I love questions, so feel free to always be asking questions. The goals for today is that you will leave here with a new site and more ideas for how you can keep building it or building other things using a tool like Lovable. And I'm hoping that you also just have a better awareness of what vibe coding is and how you could use it in the future. So if that sounds good, we'll dig in. And if you're just joining, you are going to need a Lovable account, Lovable.dev. So overview of vibe coding. I'll do this kind of quick. So this is Lovable. And as you can maybe see from this interface, vibe coding just means building digital products, websites, or even end-to-end digital services and products using plain English prompting. So it's just like chatting to ChatGPT or Claude. You literally type stuff into this box or copy paste it into this box, and you watch something appear before your eyes. And the reason that I am so excited about vibe coding is because I think, like other pieces of this Gen AI phenomenon, it really democratizes access to the internet and to building digital products. So as a founder, I've been a founder for 4 years, and of that time, 3/4 of it was pre-Gen AI tools. And anytime I wanted to build something, I had to rely on a team. I had to hire expensive engineers or find external consultants, and inevitably something would get lost in translation from the vision in my head to what got built, and I would never understand how we were getting it built. And along comes vibe coding, and now I can go from idea in my head to working product in a few hours. And the freedom and confidence that I get from that is incredible. It's unlike anything I've had before. And as you can tell, I'm really excited for you all to feel that. So that's a quick overview to vibe coding. Let's get into how we're going to build your site. So the first important thing for building a personal website is to know what your goal is for the site. So common goals for a personal site are things like job hunting. So it can replace a resume or augment your LinkedIn profile. It's great for that. Another common reason to have a personal site is to sell your services. It can be a portfolio to showcase your work. It can be a place to host your blog. Lots of different reasons to have a site. You could be here today because you just want to learn what vibe coding is and you don't really need a personal site, and that's cool too. But take a minute and just think about what you think your goal is for this site today. And while you're doing that, I forgot some housekeeping, which is I am recording this session and I will send you all the recording after. I also don't mind if you use a note taker like Granola, which is my favorite AI note taker. And I'll also share a summary of the session and my top tips in an email after this. So hopefully you've jotted down some goals for the site that we're going to make today. The next step is we're going to get the content together for our site. And The old way of doing this would be to write a bunch of stuff and spend a lot of time parsing through your old work and thinking about the perfect words to put on your site. And there's still a place for that. We might get to that fine tuning down the line, but to get started, I'm going to show you a few lazy/fast ways to get some of that content. So I'm going to open up ChatGPT and I'm going to share a prompt with you that I will then put in to my ChatGPT. So here's the prompt, and let me share screen and show you how I will do this. And again, this works in Claude or whatever tool you're using. So my prompt is, I'm building a brand new personal website using Lovable. My goal is, in this case, I'm going to say, my goal is to be a thought leader in vibe coding. Here's some existing stuff on me. And here's the part where we're going to get efficient. I'm going to just share with ChatGPT all of my existing stuff. So this can be anything you can think of, and you can add more later. My favorite thing to do here is to dump my LinkedIn profile in. So I'm going to show you how to do that in LinkedIn. Give me a second to get back there. So here's my LinkedIn. I love just going to my LinkedIn profile, and somewhere in here, I think it might be, yeah, if I click resources at the top of my LinkedIn, and then I click save to PDF, it's going to save most of the things on my profile into a nice, clean document that I'm going to just share with ChatGPT so that it has that info on me and can come up with content for my site. There are a few things that PDF doesn't get. I don't think it gets my posts. So another thing that I sometimes do is I'll come into all my posts, and sometimes I'll just do of my last post, I'll expand all of this text, and then I'll do a quick copy paste just to give it a little bit more of the flavor of the kinds of things I'm working on. You don't need to do that, but that's an option. So once you get that content from your LinkedIn, we're going to go back into ChatGPT. I should really share the whole screen, shouldn't I? But I'm going to just do this. And here's some existing stuff on me. So now I'm just going to add, wow, this annotate button's really in the way of my attachment icon on my screen here. Let's see if I can get it to show me that. Anyone, that's funny. You probably can't see that, but Zoom wants me to annotate this, and the annotate icon is always in this attach mode. So I think I'm just going to drag it. So here is my attachment from LinkedIn. I'm dragging and dropping that download into my ChatGPT. If you have an existing personal site or a portfolio or a resume or anything else that's easy for you to copy, paste, or grab or attach, that can all be really useful content as well. Another thing I'll just mention, because this has come up before, and I don't know how this works in this new GPT-5 interface, but if you're worried about data privacy, there is that setting in ChatGPT where you can make this conversation forgettable. So if you are nervous about sharing all of this stuff with ChatGPT, then you can change that setting, which if you're interested, I can try and find it. I personally never worry about that stuff, and happy to go down that tangent if useful to you. I'm going to pause. Thumbs up if you are with me so far on how we're going to get ChatGPT to create this content. Thumbs down or come off mute and tell me if you're stuck or you have questions. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Great. I'm going to hit enter on this. My goal is to be a thought leader in vibe coding. Here's some existing stuff on me, LinkedIn profile. I'm not going to do this. Tell me what content should go on my site. Enter. So ChatGPT is going to come back with some sort of strategy for what it thinks should go on my personal website, given my goal and given the context, the information I've shared about it with me. in this case, it's kind of giving me the outline of the site, which is great. When I want to take this further, I'm going to get it to give me instructions that I can paste straight into Lovable. So let's assume that I'm happy with its structure for this site and the content that it's giving me. Here's my next prompt. For this content, give me the instructions I can paste into Lovable in plain English that will get Lovable to craft a beautiful personal site for me with this content. So I'm going to give you this prompt as well, so you can put that straight in. We will get into design instructions. If you already have some thoughts in your mind about colors, branding, etc., feel free to include that in your prompt to ChatGPT or in what we're going to get back and paste into Lovable. I'm going to do that a bit later. So I'm going to hit enter on this, and ChatGPT is going to give me the Lovable-ready prompt. So it's coming back. It's kind of because I didn't give it any instruction on design. It did this last time. This is so funny to me. I've told it before that I like McGee & Co., the interior design company that has that show in Utah about dream homes. This was a year ago that I told ChatGPT that I like that style for my home. And because I haven't given it any instructions, it's digging up its memory and deciding that it's going to do my personal site in that style. I think is pretty funny. Did I not paste the second prompt? Sorry. Yes, of course I can. I think I pasted it to Kate's note taker Otter AI private message. Apologies. My Zoom was in the other message frame. So now you've got that prompt. So see what it comes back with. And I am then, without really reading this because I kind of trust it by now, I'm going to do a big copy paste on this. So I'm copying everything here. And of course, I'm going fast right now, but you could have some back and forth with ChatGPT on this content, on the layout. And you can, of course, do that once we get into Lovable as well. So I'm copying the instructions that I've gotten, and I'm gonna hop back into Lovable for the first time. So we're back in Lovable, and they just have this big open chat window right here in the middle of the page. So I'm going to copy and paste that entire set of instructions in here, and I'm gonna hit go. Now we'll hit the main Lovable interface here. So for this first set of instructions, it usually takes 2 to 3 minutes to get you your first V1 of your site. And while it's doing that, I can explain a bit more about Lovable. So this is the main interface. In a few minutes, we'll see our site come to life in this preview area. And on the left is the chat box. So this is where it's now showing the instructions that I gave it on the prior screen as my chat to it. And it's come back with its response. I'll create a stunning personal site, clean site with McGee & Co. inspiration. And once it has shown me its version 1, this is where I'm going to chat to it to get all of the edits and improvements that I want in the site. But for now, it'll give us the play-by-play for how it's configuring this. Pausing. Thumbs up if you have gotten to this point. Questions, concerns, if you have them. This is usually when I get a question on how do we pay for Lovable. So I see your question, Kate, I will come back to that. So Lovable charges by usage, and you can get a V1 of your site in the free plan, with the free number of credits that you get. Oh, that's that little noise that you might have heard means that it's finished. So it should show up in this preview here. Nope, that's not it. Let's refresh and see if it's going to show me my page. Nope. Find and customize, generate image. This isn't new. I'll come back and figure out what this feature is. Sometimes it gets a little buggy like this. There are a few hacks for this. Hopefully yours didn't do this, but usually it should just show me my page here. One of the things I'll do is I'll refresh the whole Lovable page. So let me just try that right now. And if not, then we'll quickly get into problem solving a little earlier than I had hoped. Not showing me my site yet. So now I'm going to go into this chat box, which is where I tell it all of my problems. And I'm going to say, hey, Lovable, I don't see my site in preview yet, you silly goose. And here I'm going to click this chat button. This chat button is important because this lets me tell it things and ask it questions and problem solve without eating into my credits. So I'm highlighting chat by clicking on it, and I'm hitting send on this troubleshooting message. Yours did the same, Sandy. Interesting. This doesn't happen frequently, but it's great that we can get straight into problem solving.
You scroll up a little on yours, also the same was on mine. There's a button that says approve. It used to. Next to that generate image, it had a approve button. So maybe
I think what this is doing is, so when I've done this before, it does this funny thing because I didn't give it my name or my profile picture, but it thinks that a personal site should have a profile picture, which is not wrong. It
Mm,
will auto-generate an AI image of who it thinks I am, and eventually I would go in and give it my actual photo. It seems like for some reason it's now asking for approval to generate that professional founder portrait of a confident woman. And it's nice, it thinks I'm in my early 30s. So I guess for some reason they've changed a setting on that to ask for permission to create that image. You don't have to hit, you can choose what you do with that. It shouldn't matter. More importantly, why isn't it showing us this site? I can see the issue based on the session. So this is kind of weird. It usually doesn't bug out at this beginning stage. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it do that. But you saw the way that I'm prompting it to fix it. I just said in plain English what the problem is. I don't see my site in preview yet. And it's given me its analysis of the problem and what it plans to do to fix it. And I'm going to hit implement the plan. And usually this fixes things. Sometimes you need to tell it a few more times that something is broken. So let's see what's going to happen here. But I imagine that there's something wonky going on in the Lovable world today that it came back with this issue because I haven't seen this one before. While we're waiting for that again, I'm going to circle back to the pricing thing I was talking about. Lovable charges you on usage. Before hitting the paywall, you should be able to get to your V1 of your personal site. And then at some point, probably before you get to a point where you're happy with your site, you will run out of credits. And then I think the starting plan is $18 a month. I'm actually chatting to the Lovable team about getting credits for people who come to my webinars on this, which should get you a lot further on a free plan before paid. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, let me know when you hit the paywall today, because I'm always curious to see how quickly that happens for people. And we can talk about ways to get around it. Oh, Katie, once you approved the image, oh, interesting. So maybe it really was getting stuck on that image thing. Well, let's see what it's going to do for me here. Who was able to see their site yet? You already ran out of credits, Sandy? Oh no.
I guess it really had a lot to think about. No,
Wow,
I
that's
think I had because I played with it before. I had 5 credits when starting. I don't know.
well, so you never even got to see your site?
No, and also it said it built it, but then it says there's an error. When I hit try to fix, it's explaining to me all of the errors in its own
It,
coding.
this is here, we finally got to mine. So at least I know it will get there, depending on if you have credits
I'll just
left.
watch yours.
That this has never happened to me on one of these webinars that we have so many issues right at the first step, but let's persevere. And Elon, that is a great tip. I saw that as well. If you sign up for the subscription to Lenny's newsletter, it comes with a wow. I wonder how many credits you get in that free year via Lenny's newsletter. Build unsuccessful and out of credit. Oof. I'm sorry, gang. This is a new one for me. So I'm going to keep showing you with mine. You will have a recording of this site. We will address the credit thing with the Lovable team after this, and I will follow up on email to help you get past this credit issue. So let's keep going. We're in the first pass of my site. So let me just show you around a little bit. I mentioned that on the left is where we chat to it and tell it how to improve things and fix bugs, etc. This little button up here is the hide sidebar button, which lets you see it in full screen mode. You can also click this little arrow up here that says open preview in new tab so that you can get it in full screen here. You can click these icons here to show tablet and phone view, and it's usually pretty decent at doing the right design, or at least basic layout stuff for all of those versions off the bat. We can come back to some problem solving there. So my first thing when I see the site for the first time is I'll take a step back and I'll scroll through the thing and I'll see how well it's done it and what's glaringly needing fixing. So I'm scrolling through this and it's got a lot of good stuff here. It knows a lot about me because ChatGPT knows me so well that ChatGPT was able to bring in a bunch of existing stuff about me into the instructions. So yours might not be as detailed as this, and that's totally fine for now. So overall, and that's nice that it did not generate the AI image of me because that's been kind of creepy in the past. So it's just given me a placeholder for where I should add my image, which I like. So this is, I think, like a really great first pass compared to pre-vibe coding, where I would have had to pay someone a lot of money to just, and done a lot of work up front to just get to a version 1 of my site. There are already a lot of things that I want to change, but typically for me, the first thing that I will do is start building out functionality with the buttons, because usually you'll get this design and it will have some buttons that work and a lot of buttons that don't work. So for example, let's see, Meet Molly, that's just content, signature workflows, that's kind of fun. LinkedIn agent. So I won't go into all the details of my content, but I like what it's giving to me here. It's got essential resources. So this is an example of buttons that don't work. So these are actually things that I have created in the past, but are currently not linked up. So if I'm happy with this section, then one of the first things that I might come in and do in the chat is give it the links for these buttons. And the way that I would do that is I'd say, so one thing I do is I'd take a little screenshot of this section that I want to work on, and I would paste that into the chat here. And I would say something like, here are the links to make these links work. Very lazy with my English. And then I would come in and I would paste the URLs. I'm not going to do that right now because it's going to take me some time to go find them, and I'm not going to save this site, but I'd say prompt engineering guide, paste real URL. And I do that for all 4 of these. And then I would just hit enter and it would do that updating for me. So that's an example of how I'm starting. Once I've got V1, I'm starting to go in and say, all right, what's actually functional? What's not functional? What do I want to keep? And therefore, I'm going to invest some time and some credits in making it functional. Pausing there. Let me look at the questions in the chat. Loving Lenny's newsletter. Yes, love that. Great tip. Yes, can you directly change the code? You can at least see the code, and I believe you can change it. I am not a coder, so I never touch this section. It scares me a little bit, and that is the beauty of Lovable. I never have to touch this section, but there's a button here that shows you the code. So you, I believe, can come in and change things. Let me know if otherwise. I also wanted to circle back to a question that was up here. If I've used Lovable for presentations, absolutely. I love Lovable for presentations. I don't use slides anymore. Well, I guess I did use a slide at the start of this because I was being very quick. But I do. I use Lovable for all my presentations. In fact, let me just show you in my dashboard. I'll show you what I've used Lovable for recently. So this is the site that we're building right now. This is my personal site, meant to show you that at the beginning as an example. I'll come back and show you that. I have been pitching a few companies for AI consulting services. So I've just whipped together quick Lovable sites to use as a pitch or as a roadmap. This was showing my mom how cool Lovable is. She's an art docent at the Seattle Art Museum. This is not her. That's an AI generated image that looks nothing like her, but my prompt was like, my mom's an art docent, make her a website. And it came back with a great website for how basic that prompt was. This is a community I'm building of people who love vibe coding. I can share that with you after if you're interested. I built my entire Lumi product in here, and I've done lots of other presentations and roadmaps as well. So I use it for a whole lot of things. How would I use it for presentations, create slides for you? I've moved away from slides, Elon. So when I use it as a presentation, I'll do a couple things. I'll send it as a website, and instead of people clicking slides, they're scrolling or interacting or clicking buttons. And then I'll usually do a 30-second or 60-second or longer Loom video to go with it, where I walk them through the website and show them where they can click if they want deeper reading or learning.
Thank you for that. I may have missed that earlier. I joined about half hour late.
All good. No, we were just talking about presentations right then. Can we use it to make apps for small businesses? Yes, you can. It's awesome for that. You can make all sorts of apps with Lovable. What we're doing today is just scratching the surface because a personal website on the surface of what you can do with Lovable. So I've built AI coaches. I've built all sorts of integrations into my Lovable products. So for example, Lumi is AI career companion, and the first feature that we built there was called a win tracker, and it integrated with my AI note taker and Slack and a Google Drive folder to do like a weekly analysis of my meeting notes, and like that I fed it to tell me what I had achieved that week and track those things for. Haven't built my own CRM. Have I built my own CRM? I might have actually tried that at some point. I don't know if I've ever built a CRM, but I know a lot of people who have. It won't be like dense as a Salesforce, but you probably don't want it to be. Um, if you go to the Lovable main site or click around through their learning resources, I think they have some cool templates on CRMs and other common things. And now I'm seeing some people mention Gamma. I also like Gamma. I have to say I like Lovable better. I don't know why. I think I like the designs better in Lovable, or there's something about Gamma that I didn't get to a place where I loved it, but I also haven't tried it in a few months, and it's probably improved quite a lot in that time, as all of these tools do.
I feel like the use cases you described are kind of different experience you want for your users looking at it, right? You want someone to like be able to dive in and click through on their own, whereas Gamma is like, if you want to tell a story to someone, I think the deck aspect probably goes for it more. But if you're just like much information, I could see your use case being innovative and useful.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You're right. Gamma and slides are probably better for storytelling. I can keep showing you more things. Like I would keep working on this site and keep the questions coming as well. So I'm going to go back into building here. And here's some other stuff here's a few more tips here. One of the hacks I use to get it to design in the style or colors that I want is if you have brand guidelines already, like if you have a document or a Figma file or something like that that lists your brand guidelines, you can upload that or attach that, I should say, to Lovable or copy paste it into Lovable, and it does a really good job of reading that. So I would say something like, here are my brand guidelines. Make this site, redo this site in my brand guidelines. I will also sometimes do is, so here's, I was going to show you my site. This is my current personal site, and it's got a pretty simple design aesthetic and color scheme. But one thing that I could do is screen grab this and go back into this site and say match the style, colors, fonts, etc. of this image, and just hit send on that. And let's see how good of a job Lovable is going to do with that screenshot on style. It's thinking. That's one way that I get it to do the style that I like. Thing you can do is if there's a website that you think is great, like there's a product you love that's just got a really sleek, you can screenshot that. And I'm not saying copy the entire design, but you can say things like, I love the simplicity of this image that I'm sharing. Can you make my site more simple like this? You could share, like you already have some assets of your product or artwork that is what you want to, is the style that you want to evoke on your site. You could share those and say, read this in this style. Is there a cap on number of attachments you can add to your initial prompt in an effort to give it as much info upfront as possible and use less credits? That's a great question. Probably is, and I think the credit system is a little smarter than that. I think it's not just the number of chats you do anymore, but the amount of work it's doing, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't know the exact answer to that. Okay. Actually got to see their site before hitting issues or running out of credits. Anyone? No one? That would be surprising. Your preview's in the works. Okay. I was curious if anyone wanted to share reactions to what they got in their V1 from Lovable.
Share maybe.
See it?
Send request. This is not me. This is my presentation. So it says it's determined that I'm a staff leader. Complexity and clarity. I think that's directly from my LinkedIn profile. Like I have about experience, projects, contacts, so nothing too groundbreaking here. You can download my resume, go to my LinkedIn professional journey, and the personal side. I attached a couple of I have a X account and a Twitter account that's more like both like blog and self-improvement book summaries. So I think it does some of that from that. Some of the things that I've started building, vibe coding and that sort of thing. My professional experience. This is kind of a cool way to display that experience. Back summarizing that out. That's interesting. Whether those numbers are like one from my resume, so we can go update those numbers, but putting those there is cool. Motivations, these are again pulling out from my resume, so different things that I've done. My resume, these I probably wouldn't keep on here, but it's just interesting. Like it actually dove into I think Replit and what I've done in Replit already and pulling some of this out. I don't think I've shared this elsewhere, so I'm impressed ChatGPT and Lovable found that on me. Is Lovable also searching for on you when it builds it out, or does it just take what ChatG sent it?
I don't believe it is. You could maybe prompt it to do that. It can do generic searching. Like if you were to just say to Lovable, a personal website, I want to be a thought leader in vibe coding, then it could go figure out what vibe coding is and do some generic stuff. But I don't think it knows to look for you.
I wonder if ChatGPT said all of that and I just copy and pasted and didn't read anything, but that's fine. It's a quick thing. I can pop anything in there if you guys want to see it, but I came up
That's
with.
awesome. Love it. Did you give it those colors or did it choose?
It chose those colors, and even in the ChatGPT prompt, it specified green, and well, I don't know where the green came from, but it works. I like it.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think it's really fun to see different examples. Let me get to this question from Marion. How can you change components? Let me show you that. That's a great question. Then I'm also going to show you all how to give it a real domain. So if you want to change components, a few different ways. The one way is to click this edit button here, and then you can come in and change my cursor to be highlighting different components. So I can click into text. Really handy because I can literally say, doesn't let me do it sometimes if it's linked to the back end, but it will often let me just edit the text here. I can, this or change words. And then you can also click a button and ask for changes, or click any section and ask for quick changes here. And there's some other tools that you can do to get more specific. That's one way. I tend to just do the screenshot method that I shared with you before. I don't know why I prefer that over edit. There's something about it that's a little easier and more intuitive to me. So once again, I do on my Mac Command-Shift-4 to get to this screenshot, and then I get the section, I paste it into the chat, and I tell it what to do. Another tip I'll mention while I'm here is Lovable is a great thought partner once you're in the flow of building this site. So I will sometimes give it higher level questions like, I want to add a video section. What do you suggest? So here I'm getting it to kind of on building out this site. I'm going to click chat so that it's just a plan instead of going straight into action. And it'll probably come back with a few options for where it thinks a video section would fit nicely in here. Tell me, did you need, oh, you got the prompts. Okay, team. Let me now share how to make this live. So once you are somewhat happy with your site, wow, there are a lot of menu buttons up here. I didn't see that until now. You're happy with your site, you can come up to this publish button. Now, before you even do anything, you've got a few options. You've got preview. So this is, showed this before, but this is just how you can see it without the edit interface so that it feels a little bit more real here. And then if I go back to my Zoom windows, always get in the way of my tab navigation. There we go. I go back in here. There's also this published sites here. So when I hit publish, this is a default URL that Lovable gives to every site that when I hit publish will be live. And you can share that with people, and is like your production site. So building in here, you can keep building and your changes are not live until you hit publish. And then this site will get updated. And then the other thing you can do is give it a custom domain. So in this case, like you can buy a domain via Lovable. I use a domain provider called Porkbun. So typically buy my domain in Porkbun, and then I'll come in here and click connect domain. Wow, there we go. And Lovable will walk you through this, and it's really easy. Put in the domain name that you've purchased. That mine's kind of slow, I guess. And wow, we are having a lot of issues today, Lovable. You go in and you put your domain name in here, and it will walk you through the process. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't have one for this site, but it's really intuitive. And if you ever get stuck, ChatGPT to get unstuck, but it's pretty easy. It's like a couple steps. You used to have to do a lot more manual work for this, and now Lovable does that work for you. And so once you have your domain connected, this part is bizarrely slow. Once that domain is connected, it's going to show up in this box here, custom domain. And so when you hit publish, it will also push to your custom domain. So let me just show you what that looks like in my actual site. This is my personal site. If I go publish, it's showing mollymueller.com. So if I want to update it with whatever changes I've made, I'll just hit update at that point. And then this is kind of cool. This is a new security feature that Lovable's added where it tells me that I have a couple security issues. In this case, I've looked at these and they're not real issues, so I haven't fixed them yet. It can tell you if you have any actually scary security issues and walk you through fixing those. Okay, almost at the end of this session. Let me know if there are any more questions I can answer, and Also just curious to hear some reactions. I know some of you weren't able to get to your site today, which is unusual and disappointing, but maybe for those of you who did, curious to hear how the experience was. And while you're thinking of that, is there a way to connect it to payment gateway? Yes. I'm not entirely sure I'm understanding your question two, but for question one, if you mean integrating it with something like Stripe, yes, you can do that. Makes it really easy. Easiest way would be to put into the chat, I want to integrate this with my Stripe, walk me through it, and it will lead you through that process. Probably need your Stripe API key, which I didn't know what API keys were before I started working in Lovable, and I've learned that and many other things through Lovable and ChatGPT, and it's a lot easier than it sounds, and the AI guides will tell you exactly how to do that. Need help.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just asking on the second one if I can give it a URL for an existing website that I love, and will it copy the format like there's so many websites and I want something exactly like that. Can I give it a URL and like my content, this is a website you want my content in? Can it do that? Or do you have to?
Don't know if it can crawl the URL. Not sure.
Okay. Shame because there's so many websites out there. It would be like, why do I even need to create new requirements at this point for some of the stuff? Of course, there are stuff where you need to customize it, but I wished they would be like, okay, this, Jira issue, duplicate, add new things. But I get it.
Probably for copyright and ethical reasons. I'm guessing they won't do
Yeah.
exactly that. But they're really great at if you're showing it inspiration.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
I think there are templates also in Lovable that you can start from and sort of project from and then fork off of to make your own modifications.
Yes, that is a great point. You're right. There are templates. I think they call it remixing.
Yeah.
Their way to export the site to host with a different provider. This is a question that I used to know the answer to. You into Webflow or something like that, Claudio? I feel like when I first started using this, looked into that, and I think the short answer is yes, you can do anything, right? You can copy the code base from Lovable, and I am sure there are ways that Webflow or some other tool let you at least import the code base or the designs. They're all getting so smart right now that I imagine you can do that. I think when I first started building with Lovable, still had engineers on my team. So we did a lot of back and forth on like how Molly prototype in Lovable, and then have the engineers come in and sort of professionalize it and augment it. And honestly, for my purposes, I have found over the last 7-8 months that I can now do everything I need to do in Lovable, which is crazy, but I can literally build end-to-end apps with databases and all of the integrations I need. So I have no longer needed to move it nor wanted to move it anywhere else. I don't have, again, the exact answer to that, but I am sure there is a way.
So I can share my experience. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you want to wrap up, you can too.
No.
My experience has been Replit. I don't see any like differences between the two. I do think like the error fix was a little smoother, Lovable than it is with Replit, and I really like the chat options, so being able to chat with it without like credits are actually building anything. I don't know if Replit has it, and I just don't know where it's at, or if it doesn't have that feature. I think if I were to do this again, I'd do more like upfront. Example websites I like. You guys were talking about what to include or exclude. I think it'll be interesting to set up a strategy for if you add it on the page directly, or if you do your strategy, Molly, where you kind of make the AI do it. The one question I was going to have is, have you had Lovable steer you wrong? I've had a couple of times in Replit where it makes the change and deletes all my users, which is not fun to discover and then have to go back to another kind of deployment. So if you have any experience with it going poorly.
I've never had it delete all my users. That sounds incredibly scary. I don't even know how that would happen because they're stored in Supabase, which is the backend integration that Lovable helps you set up. I've never had it go that wrong. Yes, I've had it go down weird design paths and sometimes like mess up a lot of button functionality. And then I'll usually go back and to an older version on Lovable to save myself the back and forth on correcting. I think, the continued frustrations with these tools is they're still not perfect, right? They kind of this high bar of expectation of like, you should just be able to tell it in English exactly what you want. And it also can read your mind and you get this perfect site. And it's certainly not there. And it still makes mistakes. And so, biggest complaint with these tools is that I have to waste credits going back and forth chatting to it to fix something that I thought would be really simple for it to fix. And for whatever reason, it wasn't. That's annoying. And you end up credits and spending money on that stuff. And I've just kind of terms with it because the greater the value exceeds the annoyance. To just respond, because you brought up Replit, I've found Lovable to be much more user-friendly for me as a non-technical person than Replit. And I haven't used Replit in a really long time too, so I should jump back in and see how I like that one these days.
I may have missed this, and I know we're right out of time, but in the chat function, are you allowed, and I haven't used Lovable yet, and I will test it out, are you allowed to actually ask it in the chat function where you're not using credits to like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do in this exact moment. What are the questions I should be asking? What are the things that could go wrong? Then once you've done that, Lovable, give me like the next prompt I should give you to take into account all of those things. Is that a thing that you've already talked about and something that it is capable of doing? I do that with ChatGPT all the time when I tell it I want to do something, and then I tell it first, what are the questions I should ask? What could go wrong? Then write a better thing to tell you, taking all of
Yeah.
that.
Love how your brain works there, because that is a great way to work with it. The first thing, if you missed it, that I would say is that you always want to click this
Mhm.
chat button here, because
Mhm.
that's how you get it to strategize with you without using credits. And yes, you can say things like, what should I do next on this site? Or 3 things do you think would make this site better? Or another thing I often get it to do is design reviews for me, like step back and my prompt would be like, step back and do a full design review of my site. What's working? What's not working? What would you improve for readability? What would you improve, convert people to purchases? Questions like that. And then, point like, should I be asking you? I haven't actually tried that in Lovable, but I think it would be good at that. I will sometimes just flip back into ChatGPT for some of that stuff. And that's where we started the call, Elon, is using ChatGPT or your other chatbot to get to a good starting prompt for Lovable. And you could always flip back in there and say, my existing site, or like, what do you think I should do next? Or what would be a good prompt to put into Lovable again?
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, questions. I'm happy to stick around for another few minutes if people have more questions. But also, we're at time, so we can also wrap this up. And everyone for coming, and hopefully you learned about vibe coding and site building and feel inspired. And I will follow up with recording and other resources.